How is it that in 1992, at 17, 16 years old, I saw some of the same things that I'm seeing today, the Rodney King incident and the riots that came out of that, the LA riots. My parents lived through 1965, the Watts riots, right? You have 1992, the LA riots. And now we have 2020, my children's generation, and they're living through this. When is it going to stop?
Hey everybody, thank you so much for tuning in, and we really hope this conversation is helpful. There's a lot that's gone on in our country these last few months, and especially these last few weeks. And today, I'm honored to have two of my great friends here with me. They both go to Eastside. Their names are Ray and Tajmia. So we're gonna go ahead and kick off this conversation. Before we do that, I just wanted to say to you guys that I am so incredibly grateful to have you here, to be in a posture today where I am learning from you and your story. I love you guys, I know you personally, and I respect the lives that you live and the stories that you have. And so I am so grateful to share that with all of you today. So we're gonna go ahead and get started. So just with a quick question, guys, if you could just tell us your story and who you are, that would be amazing. And Ray, we'll start with you.
Oh, thanks, Landon. So my name is Ray, as Landon said, and I'm a member here at Eastside. Me and my family have been here for about 6 years now. I think maybe going on 7. And, we came here when we were seeking a church that was multicultural and, that reflected kind of what society looks like. So we came to Eastside, we saw that it was a mixed congregation, and so we felt comfortable joining here and be a part of the family here. So I eventually ended up getting involved, and I serve on the worship team here at Eastside, and I lead an online Bible study group with my wife, Stacy Green. She's also led small groups where she does teens and moms. And then my daughter, she serves in the high school ministry on the high school worship team, and she also gives back by serving with the young kids, where she helps out with the ministry there. And so, as Landon called me and we discussed that we were going to do this, first of all, I was happy that this platform was set for us to be able to do this. I think at this time right now that voices just need to be heard, and there are people that need to listen to what's being said. And so, my story as far as coming up, I'm born and raised in Orange County. And, when I was first realized that there was a difference between myself and kind of who I was around, it got pretty relevant to me around my junior high years. And so, you're elementary, kids don't really see color as much, and so when I got to junior high, we moved to a different area. We moved to the area of Garden Grove, and I went to a school where there was only 2 black males, which was myself and another friend. And so the first day of class, I remember, it was first period, it's my first day at this school, and there's a guy who I eventually ended up becoming friends with later on down the line. But, he looked at me and he said, hey man, are you from Compton? And I said, no, I'm not from Compton. I moved here from Buena Park, And then the next question he asked me was, well, are you a gang member? And it was inquisitive more than him coming from a racial point of view. Obviously, he hadn't been around a lot of African Americans, and maybe whatever was passed down to him, or maybe what was, shown to him through images or TV, that's what his portrayal of who I was at that moment, and right then it just clicked to me that, wow, okay, this is different. And I'm being seen not for being Ray Green, I'm seen for being a black guy that he doesn't understand. And, that was a rough time for me, being called the N-word, those things were thrown at me. I had to physically, protect myself at times from that. And when you go through those things, you get scarred. Even as a grown man at this point, I deal with those scars in my life that were given to me 20, 25 years ago. But I'm grateful that I have a God that I serve that tells me that I'm beautifully and wonderfully made in his image, right? So anybody else's perception of me, it really doesn't matter, because God told me who I am. But that lesson was learned. I matured through that as I got older.
Well, thank you for sharing your story. And once again, I'm just so glad you could be here with us today. All right. Tajmia, hey, can you tell us just a little bit about you and your story?
Yeah, I'm Taj. I've been here at Eastside for 3 years. I came here 3 years ago. Pretty much my whole entire life, I grew up with my Italian family. I'm biracial, I'm African American and Italian, and so I grew up with my mom and my nanu and nana and grew up with amazing friends and never really was aware that I was anything different than myself. I was never hyper aware that I had a different color of skin than everybody. I had really great people in my life growing up that never made me aware that I was different. It wasn't until I was 17, it was the summer after my senior year of high school, that I became aware by somebody that I didn't look like them. I worked at Flame Broiler up the street, and it was in the middle of the lunch rush, and this woman ordered a chicken bowl with brown rice, no green onions, and for the vegetables, only cabbage and white meat. She waited 15 minutes because we have to make the white meat from scratch. Like, we don't have it sitting like in the tin.
Right.
You have to make it or else it'll get dried out. So she had to wait her 15 minutes. It was a lunch rush. There's tons, like the whole entire restaurant was packed. And she got her bowl, and it had green onions on it. And I just handed it to her. All I did was take her money, give her her order when it came out. And she looked at me, like point blank in the eyes, opened the lid and was like, "You stupid N-word. You can't even get my order right. And now I have to go back and I have to eat my lunch and it's not right and this is not what I want." And the whole entire, very loud, the whole entire restaurant went quiet. My coworkers went quiet. And no one said anything. And that was the first time that I ever was made aware that I was different, that I looked different than all of my friends, all the people that I'm normally around, where I feel safe and I feel comfortable and I feel like myself.
Well, thank you both for sharing just a little bit of your story, and obviously we recognize that's not all the story. And truth be told, I can't identify with any of that. That is not the same story that I have. That's not the same upbringing history that I have. And honestly, it absolutely breaks my heart. And so I just want you to know we're trying to learn, trying to figure this thing out, how to get through this thing together, how to do this well, how to bring light to this situation. One of the most common things that I've seen in the last couple days, maybe the last couple weeks, is just the rise of the Black Lives Matter movement. And typically when that's promoted on social media, it's followed, if you look in the comments, with, okay, yeah, Black Lives Matter, but what about all lives matter? I mean, don't all lives matter? Ray, if you could spell out for us and just give your perspective and maybe a few examples of why the Black Lives Matter movement is so important, and why saying all lives matter in response could actually be harmful.
The best analogy that I can give, Landon, as we think about that, because it is a hot topic right now, and people feel the need to come out and say Black Lives Matter because of what we've seen done to Black lives, played out on national television in front of our eyes, decade after decade, right? And the best analogy that I can give is as a father, and I have 2 daughters, and when I come home from work and those 2 daughters are home, they're gonna have different things that they went through that day, right? They're gonna have different experiences that they had throughout the day. So when I walk in and I may see that my 14-year-old, she's in the kitchen and she's dancing around and she's having a good time, and her first response was, "Hey Dad, as soon as you get a chance, can we get on your Amazon account so I can order something?" Right? Like, okay, Raylan's good, But then Riley, my 7-year-old, comes up to me and says, "Daddy, I had a rough day today. This is what so-and-so said about my skin color," or asked me why my hair is the way that it is. "And Dad, it hurt my feelings and I don't understand." Well, at that point, do I love both of my daughters equally? Yes, I do. But at that point, I see that one needs me at that moment more than the other. Doesn't mean that I love Raylyn any less, because now that I have to take Riley and have to sit on the couch with her and have to wrap my arms around her and have to console her and I have to explain to her and I have to walk her through what just happened to her that day. Does that mean that I love Riley any more than I love Raylyn? It doesn't. I love both of my daughters the same, but at that moment, Riley needs my attention more. She needs me to pay more attention to what she's going through in that moment. And so I think if we can look at it like that, to say that yes, all lives do matter. There's no doubt about that. Just like both of my daughters, they both matter to me. But there's certain points in time when I'm at home when one is gonna need my attention more than the other. And so when we look at Black Lives Matter compared to All Lives Matter, we're not saying that one matters more than the other. We're just saying that right now, this is the attention that needs to be given in this area here. And we need to be heard, and we're asking to be listened to.
Tajmia, can you give us your perception on the Black Lives Matter movement and just your story with that as well?
Yeah. So you have a broken arm, you go to the doctor, you're like, hello, doctor, my arm is broken. Can you please fix it? Your doctor's not gonna look at you and be like, oh, but you got 2 legs and you got a head and you got another arm. That's like your whole body's like, you have other limbs. You know, your legs matter, your other arm matters,
Right.
Your head matters. Your doctor's gonna see and assess that you have a broken arm and he's gonna fix it. And yes, you are a part of one body. The whole body needs to be good and healthy and working well and being in harmony with each other. But at the time, you need aid and you need help and you need to protect the broken arm so it can heal and it can become stronger after it. And so like that's the best way that I can explain it to somebody who doesn't live in it and who doesn't necessarily have to deal with it is, yes, you do matter. We are part of one body. We are a community all together, no matter what. It's not just the Black community. It's not just the white community. We all live in community together. We are one body. But right now, like, we need your help. We need you to listen. We need to have conversations with you, because if we ever want to become stronger, we want to become better, we need a cast. And we need time to heal. And then after you get to remove the cast, and then we'll move on to the next part of the body that isn't doing well, and we'll address that. But it's not that the arm matters more and that all the other limbs or the head doesn't matter, and so throw them to the side. We are one body, we all matter. But right now, we have a problem that we need to address, and if we don't put a cast on it and we don't move towards healing and restoration, this will continue to be broken, and it's not okay. You can't live with a broken arm for the rest of your life. It becomes infected and then it doesn't work. And then you might have to get it amputated. So that's the best way that I can help conceptualize it.
Well, guys, both of those are just really helpful explanations. And so, you know, Tajmia, to your point, if you walked into the doctor's office with a broken leg and they tell you your leg's broke but your arm works, and that's all they give you, they're probably not going to be a doctor for very long.
Not a chance.
They got to pay attention to what's hurting.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you for just explaining that.